All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this listening session for the Bennington Select Board. Today is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. We're in the multi-purpose room at the Bennington Fire Facility on River Street in Bennington. And before we hear from all of you, I will introduce myself. I am Tom Haley. I have the honor of chairing this board, and I'll ask my other board members to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Nancy White.
Hi, good evening, Sarah Perrin.
Hey, Jim Sullivan.
Good evening, Jackie Matz.
Good evening, Clark Adams.
Also with us, we have Nancy Lively, who has her pen out, ready to take excellent minutes. We have Josh Boucher from Cat TV, who informs me that we are either live or are not. We are live? Okay, good, thanks. And I see in the audience Dan Monks, who is our assistant town manager, and Shannon Barsati, who is about to speak to us on our topic for this evening. Shannon has a brief program prepared around housing in Bennington, after which we look forward from hearing all of your thoughts and ideas. So, Shannon?
All right. Good evening, everyone. So just to, as a, kind of a disclaimer before I begin, is that this is not an exhaustive presentation about housing in Bennington because it is a really big topic, but I thought it would be helpful to give an overview of some of the most recent data that we have. So I put this together using some of the data that was collected with the Energizer reuse study. There was a housing assessment that was done as part of that process in 2021. The town received a municipal planning grant, and then we worked with BCRC and Camoin and Associates to do that study. And then we also have updates from the Bennington County Regional Plan and the updated Bennington Town Plan that's going to be hot off the press soon. So that's where this information came from. So just why housing matters. Obviously, housing is a foundation for quality of life and public health. Adequate housing is critical for workforce retention and attraction. It supports seniors and young professionals and young families, as well as everyone, but really thinking about the more vulnerable part of our population. It drives new investment and economic growth, and the current shortage really limits the quality of life of residents in Bennington. So our current housing stock, according to the 2025 Vermont Housing Needs Assessment, which uses American Community Survey 5-year estimates from 2018 to 2022, Bennington has approximately 6,900 housing units. 52% of these units are owner-occupied, 40% are occupied by renters, 4% are occupied by seasonal residents, and 4% are vacant. The overall housing need, as I mentioned, these numbers are a little bit old now that the study was done in 2021, but that reuse study and housing needs assessment that was done identified 604 renter households in need and 452 homeowner households in need, which means, the amount of housing needed for the need that's out there. Also, that need spans all income levels and age groups. So who is impacted by the current housing need? Local workforce, in that category of $30,000 to $60,000 a year, which is kind of where the median income hits in Bennington. There are very limited rentals for that workforce. Seniors, there are few downsizing and assisted living options. So seniors are expected to represent 50 to 60% of the demand just because of the age of our population and the demographic change that's happening. So young professionals, so 60K and up, there are very few market rate rentals as well. So also low-income households, there are long wait lists for affordable units, and empty nesters who are looking to downsize and looking for smaller homes or apartments. There's also a big need there. So really, that's covering a wide variety of the population. The consequences of this shortage are that workers can't find housing in Bennington and are commuting from outside of town. And just anecdotally, when we talk to our large employers, we've even heard reports from the hospital and the school system saying, sometimes people don't accept jobs here because they can't find a place to live. So that's something we hear a lot. Seniors remain in large single-family houses that they really don't need all of the space, but they don't have a lot of options to downsize. And if they can downsize, that frees up that house for families that are looking for a home. The Putnam Block wait list, which has been there since those rentals opened, also shows there's an unmet demand for market rate units. And then there's overall, because of the costs of housing, a rising burden of housing costs for residents across Bennington. So I know you won't be able to see this very well, but I thought this was important to look at. This is from the regional plan, which covers all of Bennington County, just to compare Bennington to the other towns. What's highlighted here shows that the median home value in Bennington is around $191,200, so it's lower than the other towns that are listed here. The median gross rent, a little over $1,000 a month. Median household income, $58,253. And then this piece I think is really important. The percentage of owners paying more than 30% of their income, around 23%. The percentage of renters paying more than 30% of their income, 65%. That's a huge number. And when we think about affordability, that's one of the calculuses. If you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, then that housing is not considered affordable. So the other thing that's in the regional plan and also in the town plan now is housing targets. So these are municipal housing targets for the Bennington region from when the regional need was in the Energizer reuse study, but these are targets that are a more conservative estimate of what we really need to have online in the next 5 years. So for homeowners, that's around 200 units, and renters 300. And then you can look at some of the other data here for other towns, and you see that really Bennington, due to our population size in the county, we have the most need for the most housing units. So some of the key opportunities, seniors, 50 to 60% of demand is going to be driven by ages 60 plus. There's a need for downsizing options and independent living and assisted living. And having more quality senior housing helps maintain community ties and stability. For workforce housing, it's to attract and retain working age residents. There are needed rental price points below market rate, because when we talk about affordability and affordable housing, we're really talking about our workforce. So over 53% of Bennington qualifies for affordable housing, and that the majority of those people are working. So also that supports local businesses and reduces commuting and people having to find a place in another town.